Las Vegas, 1970. The Sands Hotel. Saturday night. A kind of night where money, fame, and power breathe the same air. The showroom is sold out, packed with high rollers, celebrities, mob-connected figures, politicians, and people who matter in this city. Everyone is here to see one man, Frank Sinatra. Backstage is a different world. Tight security, credentials checked twice, no mistakes allowed. Sinatra doesn't just perform here, he owns part of the Sands. This is his territory, his rules, his people. When Sinatra walks these halls, things move. When he speaks, people listen. He's 54 years old, at the peak of his Vegas power. Not just a singer, not just an actor, an institution, a symbol of authority, a man protected by loyalty and feared by those who know how Vegas truly works. But power attracts danger. Sinatra has been receiving serious threats, not fan mail, not jokes, real threats, the kind that come from people who don't bluff. In a city controlled by the mob, protection is everything. Security isn't optional, it's survival. And Sinatra takes survival personally. Frank Sinatra isn't just another star passing through Vegas. This city bends around him. Casinos open doors wider when he walks in. Managers listen more carefully. Security tightens automatically. He has relationships with people who don't appear in newspapers and don't give second chances. When Sinatra says something is important, it becomes important to everyone else. He built his position through decades of control, loyalty, and reputation. The Rat Pack wasn't just entertainment, it was influence. Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and Sinatra moved as a unit. They represented glamour on the surface and discipline underneath. Nothing happened around Sinatra without his approval. That's why the threats worry him, not because he's afraid, but because he understands danger. In Vegas, threats don't come from strangers. They come from people who have access, resources, and intent. Sinatra knows that protection isn't about looking tough, it's about being prepared. He already has the best security money can buy, but he believes in improvement, in tightening weak points, in removing assumptions. If something can make his circle stronger, he wants to see it himself. That mindset is why Bruce Lee is here tonight. Big Anthony is Sinatra's wall, his final line of defense. 6 feet 6 inches, 350 pounds of muscle, experience, and confidence. Former heavyweight boxer, a man who knows violence and knows control. When Anthony stands in a room, problems shrink. People behave differently around him. He has spent 8 years at the Sands handling chaos, drunk celebrities, aggressive gamblers, dangerous arguments, mob tensions. He doesn't panic. He doesn't negotiate first. His presence alone solves most problems, and when it doesn't, his hands do. Anthony believes one thing above all else: size matters. Physical dominance wins real-world confrontations. He respects discipline, but he trusts mass and strength more than any technique. To him, security is simple. If you can overpower someone, you control the situation. So when he hears about Bruce Lee, he isn't impressed. A martial artist, small. Fast, maybe, but small. In Anthony's world, speed doesn't matter if strength closes distance. He doesn't hate Bruce, he just doesn't believe in him. And tonight, he plans to prove that belief is correct. Bruce Lee walks into Sinatra's backstage space quietly. No announcement, no ego, just calm movement and focused presence. He isn't dressed to impress, no flash, no intimidation, just simplicity. Compared to Big Anthony, Bruce looks fragile, about 5'7", around 135 pounds, thin frame, relaxed posture. To anyone who measures power by size, he seems out of place here. But Bruce isn't measuring himself against Anthony's body. He's measuring timing, balance, and awareness. He notices everything: the room, the spacing, the tension in the air. Sinatra greets him with respect, a handshake, eye contact, no showmanship. Sinatra wants truth, not theater. Dean Martin studies Bruce with amusement, Sammy Davis Jr. with curiosity, Anthony with quiet skepticism. Bruce nods politely, professional, humble, no challenge in his voice, no need to prove himself with words. That's what makes him dangerous. Because Bruce doesn't rely on appearance, he relies on understanding how the human body fails, and he knows most people don't realize how close they are to losing control. Sinatra doesn't waste time. He gets straight to the reason Bruce is here: the threats, the concern, the need for real protection, not show. He looks at Bruce, then at Big Anthony. He wants honest opinions, not polite answers. Anthony speaks first, calm, confident. He explains his philosophy. Size controls situations. Strength ends threats. Presence stops problems before they start. In his world, intimidation is prevention. If someone knows you can overpower them, they hesitate, and hesitation saves lives. Bruce listens without interruption. No defensive posture, no disagreement yet, just attention. When Sinatra asks for his response, Bruce speaks carefully. Size is one factor, he says, but not the deciding one. Speed matters. Precision matters. Understanding how the body reacts under pressure matters more than mass. Anthony smiles slightly, not mocking, but unconvinced. He brings up physics, weight, power, momentum. Numbers don't lie. 350 pounds versus 135. If he grabs Bruce, the fight is over. The room becomes quiet. Two worldviews, strength versus skill, power versus precision. Sinatra watches closely. He doesn't care who's right in theory. He cares who's right in reality. And the only way to know is to test it. Sinatra doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. Authority sits naturally in his tone. He asks Anthony if he would be willing to test Bruce's claims. Not a fight, not a show, just a demonstration, a professional evaluation. Anthony hesitates, not because he's afraid, but because he understands the imbalance. He doesn't want to injure Bruce. A man his size can cause serious damage without meaning to. He explains this calmly. Sinatra waves it off. He trusts Anthony's control. He trusts Bruce's confidence. He wants clarity. Then he looks at Bruce. Are you comfortable with this? Bruce nods without hesitation. No bravo, no nervousness, just certainty. He's been here before, many times, in different forms. Bigger men, stronger men, men who believed mass was unbeatable. Dean Martin leans forward, interested now. Sammy Davis Jr. smiles, sensing something unusual about to happen. The energy in the room shifts. This is no longer conversation. This is experiment. Sinatra gestures to open space. That's enough. Let's see what's real. 8 people step back. The test is about to begin. The contrast is impossible to ignore. Big Anthony removes his jacket, rolls his shoulders like an old boxer, heavy, solid, confident. Every movement reminds the room how dangerous he is. Bruce stands opposite him, still, relaxed, balanced, no tension in his shoulders, no sign of fear, just readiness. The room feels smaller, the air heavier. No one speaks. Dean's glass pauses halfway to his mouth. Sammy stops smiling. Even Sinatra's expression changes. Focus replaces curiosity. 2 men stand facing each other, one representing mass, force, and dominance, the other representing speed, control, and precision. Everyone expects the same outcome. If Anthony touches Bruce, it's over. That's logic. That's common sense. That's what every human instinct says. Anthony doesn't take a fighting stance. He doesn't need to. This isn't boxing. This is control. One grab is enough. Bruce nods once. Ready. Sinatra gives a slight gesture. That's all the permission Anthony needs. Anthony moves first. No warning, no hesitation. This isn't a performance, this is instinct. He steps forward fast for a man his size, arms extending outward, hands opening to grab, not to strike, not to punch, to control, to end it immediately. His plan is simple. Get hold of Bruce, wrap him, use weight and strength to overpower. 350 pounds moving forward is not something most men can stop. Bruce doesn't retreat. That's what surprises everyone. He doesn't back away. He doesn't circle. He steps forward, directly into the attack, but at a slight angle. His movement is small, almost invisible. Anthony's hands close on empty air. For half a second, he's confused. His target isn't where his brain expected it to be.
Bruce strikes once. Not hard, not wild, not dramatic. Perfectly placed. His fist lands in the solar plexus, the nerve center beneath the sternum, the place where breathing is controlled, the place no amount of muscle can protect. The effect is instant. Anthony's breath leaves his body violently, like air forced from a broken tire. His diaphragm locks. His chest refuses to expand. His lungs want air, but his body won't allow it. Panic hits immediately. Not fear, panic. The kind that comes when your body forgets how to survive. His hands go to his chest. His mouth opens. Nothing comes in. Bruce steps back. He doesn't attack again. He doesn't need to. The system is already shut down. Anthony's knees buckle, not from pain, but from oxygen loss, from confusion, from shock that his size has failed him. 11 seconds ago, he was in control. Now he's fighting for breath. 350 pounds brought to its knees by one precise movement. Anthony drops to one knee, then both, not falling, sinking, like a building losing its foundation. His face turns red, his chest spasms. He tries to inhale, but his diaphragm won't respond. The room freezes. Nobody speaks, nobody moves. Dean Martin stares. Sammy Davis Jr.'s mouth is open. The security team looks stunned. Sinatra doesn't blink. He studies. 11 seconds, that's all it took. Not strength, not aggression, not dominance, just knowledge of vulnerability. Anthony finally pulls in a ragged breath, then another. Painful, shallow, real. His body resets slowly. Bruce steps forward and offers his hand. No victory pose, no pride, just professionalism. Anthony takes it. Bruce helps him stand. There is no humiliation in Bruce's eyes, only confirmation. Anthony nods once, breathing hard. It was the solar plexus, he says quietly. Shut everything down. Sinatra exhales slowly. Now he understands. This wasn't luck. This was mastery. The silence is heavier than the impact itself. 8 people stand frozen, trying to process what they just witnessed. A man who has controlled rooms with his presence for decades was brought down without violence, without chaos, without effort, just precision. Dean Martin slowly lowers his glass. The humor in his face is gone. This wasn't entertainment. This was reality rewriting itself. Sammy Davis Jr. blinks several times, like his eyes are trying to confirm something his mind refuses to accept. The security staff exchange glances. They are trained men. They understand power, and they just watched power fail. Sinatra remains still, but his eyes are alive, sharp, focused. He isn't shocked. He's calculating, evaluating. This is what he does best. He doesn't react emotionally. He absorbs information. In his world, proof matters more than explanation. He saw it clearly. The size difference meant nothing. The confidence meant nothing. The reputation meant nothing. When knowledge meets force at the right angle, force collapses. Nobody questions Bruce now. Nobody doubts him. They don't need more demonstrations. One was enough. The room has changed. So has their understanding of security. Bruce waits until Anthony's breathing steadies. He doesn't speak first. He allows the moment to settle. He understands dignity matters, especially to a man like Anthony. Anthony finally straightens himself. His voice is low, honest. No excuses, no defensiveness. He admits what happened. The strike shut his breathing down completely. He couldn't defend, couldn't respond, couldn't rely on strength. That admission carries weight. It isn't easy for a man like him. Bruce nods respectfully. He explains quietly that size is an advantage, but only when it protects vital systems. The human body has switches that don't care about muscle. When those are triggered, strength disappears. There is no tension now, only recognition. Anthony looks at Bruce differently, not as a smaller man, but as a specialist, a professional who understands combat at a level most never reach. This is not rivalry. This is education. And Bruce didn't teach through domination. He taught through restraint. That earns respect deeper than fear ever could. Sinatra steps forward. The room adjusts automatically. His presence commands attention without effort. He doesn't speak immediately. He studies Bruce for a moment, then Anthony. Finally, he nods. "Impressive," he says. "One word. Enough." Then he turns to his assistant. He doesn't debate. He doesn't consult. His decision is already made. He wants Bruce involved in training his security. Not part-time, not symbolic. Real integration, real preparation. Bruce bows his head slightly, grateful but not surprised. This is what competence creates, opportunity. Anthony doesn't object. He doesn't resist. In fact, he supports it. He understands what Sinatra has seen, what everyone has seen. This isn't about replacing strength. It's about strengthening strength with intelligence. Sinatra extends his hand to Bruce, a handshake of trust, of respect, of recognition. "You're with us," he says simply. In Sinatra's world, that is the highest approval anyone can receive.